Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Stateside Market Report with Bryant and Tim. Thank you for joining us. Bryant, how are you?
Doing good, Tim. Beautiful day
Good.
here in Northern Virginia. How are
It
you?
is. I think we're actually getting a spring this time instead of just jumping into the sweltering misery of DC summers. So I'm excited about that. We usually just skip straight from like bitter cold to frying hot. So I'm excited for a couple of days of spring.
Me too.
What are we going to talk about today? Let's talk about finding a deal. I think we said last week we're going to talk about finding a deal in this very competitive market. Days on market are still very short, inventory is still very tight. Mortgage rates are fluctuating. They dropped significantly, but then they came back up, and we have inflation data coming out this week. We have the CPI coming out this week, I think, on Thursday.
Tomorrow.
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 Tomorrow. So we're a little
Big
bit
day
early.
tomorrow. Yeah,
We'll see
everyone's
what
everyone
happens
all
next week.
anticipating it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's competitive. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like we sent out anyone who's on our investor list, we sent out 4 properties last week. 3 of those were under contract within less than 24 hours.
mhm.
So that this is obviously on the investment side, not the primary residence side, but that just goes to show that investors are hungry for deals as well, and we are not the only ones seeing these. So in this competitive market, I think going into it with expectations set of what you're going to see in the competitive field, I think can help us make better decisions or at least broaden our horizons in terms of what we can make into a deal. I think in this market, people smarter than me are saying deals are made, not found. We're no longer in the place where we can just find something that works for us and make it happen. We need to really get creative into how we're going to make things work for us, and there's ways we can do that. So let's talk a little bit about those. What do you think?
Yeah, let's jump into that. I think yeah, in this market right now, especially, from an investment standpoint or just a single, buying your primary residence, it's finding the diamonds in the rough that are
Totally.
that are that are where people are getting their bang for their buck right now, instead of competing against 20 other offers for one house that is, polished diamond, ready
Exactly.
ready from day one. We got to go looking for ones that have been sitting on the market and that need a little bit of love.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly right. And I think that, there's several ways to look at this. And I think it's really, we talk a lot about like mindset tweaks in terms of what you're getting into. If you see a brand new renovated house in Falls Church for, $1.3 million, it's got the gleaming quartz countertop, it's got the 4 bed, 3 bath, it's got the big backyard, everything's perfect. Everyone wants that house.
Yep.
So you're going to go in there at 1.5 million and hope you get it and most likely get outbid. I'm making up numbers here, but theoretically, you can go in 100, 200,000 over offer and still get beat out because everyone's looking for that exact house in that exact school district with those amenities. So how do we avoid that frustration over and over and over again? Is we look for things that have been sitting for a while. We look for the ugly duckling, all right? We look for things that need, like you said, a little bit of love. And just from a strictly financial perspective, if you're going in at 100, 200,000 over asking, why not save some of that money, go in at or even a little under asking, take a discount on doing the work that no one else wants to do, whether it just be a kitchen upgrade, a bathroom upgrade, adding some square footage, finishing a basement, things that people don't necessarily want to put the elbow grease behind, and making a competitive offer there, saving the money you would have put over asking to get into the house in the first place, and making it the way you want it to be. Rather than my wife and I are kind of the mindset when we buy a house, we want to do our own upgrades. We don't want to buy someone else's vision. So like even when we were looking at this house in Silver Spring, it hadn't been touched. We're like, all right, we can do this in the kitchen. We can do this in the basement in 2 years. We can do this in the bathroom in 3 years. You don't necessarily have to do it all at once, but kind of a live-in flip is a term that's thrown around where you kind of live and make it your own. You do your own upgrades, you get it in a reasonable price, you buy something no one else is looking at because it's not quite done yet, and you make it your own. So I think that if primary home buyers and investors can take that under consideration, there's much more wiggle room in terms of how we can negotiate as your agent, negotiate the contract for you.
Yeah, and I think, especially for a lot of our clients that are living overseas and maybe are working on a 4, 3, 4, 5 month timeline before they move back, it's finding these properties just like this that are sitting a while, you can get a good deal on, and then there's time to get contractors in there and update it to how you want it, at least up to a point where you're comfortable going and living in it. And then, like you said, just as you're living the year over year, just fix things, the live and flip scenario. And yeah, I feel like that's I have a couple clients that are kind of looking at that as an option. They're looking for distressed properties that are still livable, right? It's not completely distressed, it's a tear down rebuild. Those are the
Right.
ones the flippers are looking for, and those ones are also hard to find because,
Right.
right? So there's
I find
just
a
like
happy medium kind
there's
of.
a happy medium,
Yep.
exactly. There's the pristine house that most people are looking for that is just move-in ready, and then there's the completely distressed that are wholesale flipper ready that you can't even live in because they're just so bad. There's this little window that to look for that, if you're willing to put in, if you have a little longer of a timeline or willing to put in the work or live in it as you are updating it, there's a lot of deals we found. Instant equity in the house. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's two types of appreciation in the market. There's market appreciation, which means that everyone needs this house, everyone needs this school district. Comparable sales down the block have gone through the roof. That instantly drives the appreciation and the equity you have in your house up. There's also forced appreciation, which is kind of the investor's mantra, where you go in, you add value by renovations, by adding desirability to the house. And there's obviously certain levels of what you're willing to take on and what you want to do. And honestly, not everyone knows the variance between what those are. Like we're looking at one houses that are just crazy layouts that no one likes. If you have to tear down walls, do structural things, add square footage, those are big, heavy lifts, not necessarily not worth it. But there's also ones where just like, ugh, the counter's disgusting. And why would anyone want that carpet? Okay. Do you know how easy that is to fix? But not everyone wants to do that. Everyone is in kind of the Zillow mindset of just, oh, this is pretty. Let's see what that's all about. And this one's gross. Skip. Those ones that are gross and skip, those are the ones that are sitting, and those are the ones where you can go in and put 5, 10 grand and add value immediately and get a more competitive bid because not everyone's looking at it.
and I will say there are what they call like the construction loans, right?
Yep.
I can't remember the
The
209.
203K.
Yeah, that's it. Um, and there's like two different ways to do it. I know I don't want to get too deep into this, but there's the one where you can do within $30,000 over the price of the home, and that one's easy for lenders to do. And then there's one that's over that involves contractors and bidding and all this kind of stuff. But so there's a way to overpay for a house to pull that money out right away and put into the house, right? So it's wrapped
Yep.
up in the loan anyways.
Yep.
So again, you're not going to get in this environment. You're not going to get that in a pretty house, right? Or maybe you might not have to do it, but also there's that, like I said, that window where it needs $10,000-$20,000 worth of work. You can take out that little bit of extra money in the loan and put that money right into the house. And they said it's your vision, right? You're not letting somebody else dictate what you want. You're doing whatever you want. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you're adding value at a timetable that works for you. So it really is, it's something to consider. And this is a conversation we have with our clients when we first start talking to them. It's just like, hey, it's competitive out there. Don't be scared. Here's what we're going to do. And we start looking at these things, and it's really just getting over that hurdle and seeing the 5-year picture, seeing the finished product. And we'll help you kind of walk through what this looks like, because it's not, I mean, reality, it's not like you can just go in and just do all these renovations and live your normal life. It's going to be inconvenient when you're doing certain rooms. Like if you have a 2-bedroom house and you're redoing, or a 2-bathroom house and you're redoing one of the bathrooms, everyone's in that bathroom for a little while. Is it the end of the world? Absolutely not. And when you weigh that with going 100,000, 200,000 over asking, in almost everyone's mind, that's probably worth it. So it's just these little tweaks. And then on the lending piece, and like you said, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but we have lenders that specialize in these things where they can help you structure something where you can get that construction, the renovation cost rolled into the loan. It's drawn at certain times by the contractors. There's certain checks and balances that have to take place depending on the loan product. But it's really a creative way where you can pay for the house and the renovations to come all at once and not necessarily have to finance that out of pocket. So it's not as if it's not black and white where I have to get a loan for the entire price of a $1.2 million house, or I have to buy a $900,000 house and come up with 300 grand out of pocket to pay for these things. You can put that in with a loan. So all that to say is I encourage you to schedule a call with us, with some of our lenders. We're happy to put you in touch with them and walk through these options. Because I think, one of the purposes of why we do these videos is to just give people knowledge, give people options. And we don't want people to look at the market and say, it's too crazy, I'm out,
Right.
like I'm going to rent. Let's explore some different options, and like we can hopefully enlighten you in terms of what can be done that not everyone knows is available. We learn new stuff every day in terms of like loan products and 40-year amortization schedules, and there's
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff where lenders are getting creative too. It's not just home buyers that are frustrated not being able to find anything. Lenders are getting creative too because they're trying to combat these higher interest rates. Yeah, so it's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, and exactly. I think the point is that there's no just one straight line to home ownership. There's
Ooh, I like it.
different paths that you can
I
take to
like it.
the end point, right?
Yeah.
It's driven on, what your different scenarios are. There's so many different scenarios involved in who's buying a house and what the terms are. So, like I said, there's not one direct path to it. Just know that there are alternatives than just the general path straight to home ownership. And there people use them, right? And the only way
I love that.
people use
Yeah.
them is when people know that they're available. So, and
Right. Yeah. And
that's what we're
this
trying to do.
exactly right, Brian. This is not one size fits all. This is not cookie cutter. This is a very nuanced business. It's arguably, well, in most people's, people that don't buy houses for a living as investors, this is the biggest purchase you're ever going to make. It's not just like, I want that one, let me get it. Let me pay whatever they want because I really want that one. There's other options. And that's, let's talk about them because we love this stuff and we love getting creative and making it work for you, work for our buyers and for our sellers for that matter. Um, Anything else you want to cover today? I think that was pretty good
I think
teaser
that,
about
yeah,
what we can talk about and figure out.
yeah, I think that's plenty for today.
That's plenty for we've given them enough to think
I
about.
think we have, yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah. I think we did our due diligence for the day, Tim.
Okay, due diligence. That's a real estate term.
Yes,
Only.
boasting.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We hope this has been helpful. Please do subscribe so you get these every week. We are religious about putting these up because we think that, education is key in this market, especially, but in real estate in general. This is something we want to provide value for our listeners and subscribers. And if you have suggestions about topics you want us to cover, please do reach out. Our emails are in the link thing, the bio,
Yeah.
the
We'll
comments.
put it in the comments. Yeah.
All right, in the yeah, and subscribe, and then you get these every week, and along with our newsletters, and hopefully we're keeping you informed and helping you navigate this wild and crazy real estate market here in the DMV.
It's wild and crazy. It is wild and crazy.
It's wild and crazy. All right, everybody, we'll see you next week. I'm not going to give any teasers. We're going to come up with something new and fresh next week, and then now we're not going to know what to talk about, so we're going to have to come up with something next week.
All right.
Can we do that?
Plenty to talk about.
Yeah, there's plenty to talk about.
We just need to pick something and go with it.
That's it. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. See you guys.